What's up everyone, Sean Count Blagarth here today with an album review, this time of the 2013 Relapse Records release of Conceived in Sewage by Devourment. If you are not familiar with Devourment, they are a brutal death metal band hailing from Texas, and these guys know how to slam. I'm a big fan of slam death metal. It's my favorite genre of death metal. I personally find it to be the most entertaining. Just some of the sickest stuff is from the brutal death and slam areas of death metal. And Devourment have always been the kings of it, and they have returned to show that they are, in fact, the best at this. And my God, where to start with this? Just a little background on how I feel about their previous work. I love the first two albums. They're great stuff. I mean, Butcher of the Week is probably one of my favorite death metal albums, period. But when it came to Unleashing the Carnivore, I couldn't stand the mix on it. It was almost unlistenable to me. So I was a little bit nervous when I found out that these guys were going to put out a new album, because I thought maybe it was going to be more of Conceived in Sewage's pretty piss-poor production. Well, then I saw they were on Relapse and all fears that went away like that. And, wow, this album is just a massive beast of a slamming machine. Just everything about this just screams brutality and sickness. Some of my favorite stuff about this album is simply the song structures and how they flow, because it's never really the same formula of, alright, let's start off with a blast beat, then into kind of like a 4/4 kind of every 4 hit snare kind of beat with double bass, and then go into a quick gravity and then slam, and then back into the blasting and all that stuff. And quite frankly, there's a lot of bands that do that, and it pisses me off when they do that, because they could do so much more with the structure. These guys, every song starts off different. Every song ends different. They all have a same feel, but they all sound different from each other. Like, I'm able to tell, like, that's Legalized Homicide, that's Fucked with Rats, etc., etc. All the songs are very unique in that context, and the way they flow is phenomenal. I just love the smooth transitions and progressions within the song structure itself, and that's something about Devourment has always succeeded with, and really not only succeeded but excelled in, was having very well flowing songs. And whenever the slam comes in, it's always at the perfect time. It's never too soon, it's never too late. It's always right when it needs to be. And it breaks up the speed and the intensity of the music, which can start to become a little bit overbearing if they didn't add in the slams, because it's just so straightforward and intense. I mean, the guitar riffs are just these absolutely mammoth, monster, just destructive riffs that are quick and they're sharp and they cut right through. They're not really high pitch, but they are really good sounding for the most part. Really focusing more on the crunch and the bottom end, which is my personal favorite, is bands that focus on that particular area of the sound. And Devourment have just came back, and they have really made these riffs more focused and heavier than ever. And the slam chugs are just really cool, like in patterns, because some of them have like these triplets thrown in there at these different intervals, and I really enjoy that a lot, because it once again makes it more interesting to listen to. Because if they didn't do that, the slams would start to become overbearing, monotonous, boring, and just something that's not that good to listen to. A lot of bands do that, and Devourment have always been the kind to make great sounding slams, and they do well with this. The bass sounds very good as well. I have to say, the mixing and the tone for both the guitar and the bass, they both sound extremely well, and they don't sound like they're fighting with each other in the mix for who gets the loudest part. They sound like they're put at even perfect levels. The guitar just a little bit higher than the bass, but not much because the bass still cuts through in the mix perfectly, and it just sounds damn good. The drums sound fantastic, but my only gripe with the drums is I'm not too fond of their snare sound. They've had the same sounding snare for pretty much their entire career, and I've never been too fond of it. It sounds a little empty and a little bit shallow and thin for me, but at the same time, it works for what they're doing, and when the gravities come in, it cuts through. The slams have a really good impact with the snare, and that's something that I really like too about the drums, is they're very powerful. They provide a lot of impact. The kicks especially are very heavy sounding, and for death metal you need to have a heavy sounding drum in order to have a heavy sounding record, and Devourment has taken note on that, and they have done extremely well in that department. Vocally, this is probably some of the best vocal work that I've heard Devourment do. There's a lot of variety to it, and that was something that bothered me a little bit about their old work, is it was all just straight gutturals. This time around there's some more like mid-range vocals, and quite frankly to me it sounds a lot like Sean from Dying Fetus, which is pretty damn cool because I love his vocals. So you get these more straightforward death metal vocals that are easier to understand. You even get some more high-pitched screams, which are pretty cool. They're not done very often, but when they're there, it's awesome. The gutturals are just, as always, just these nauseating, deep, almost like blood-gargling gurgles that make my stomach churn. And it just feels so dirty and wrong, and that's what I love about this vocal style. Just this really raw, dirty, gritty sound, and the vocals just add to it. And plus, the guest vocals from Travis Ryan from Cattle Decapitation on Fucked with the Rats, or wait, yeah, Fucked with the Rats. Wow. He's my favorite vocalist of all time, so that was a real treat to hear him on a Devourment song. And it was really cool to hear Mike on a Cattle Decap song. Those are like my two favorite, that's my favorite song from the Cattle Decap album, and that's quite frankly my favorite song on the Devourment album. They both have a great voice that meshes well together, and to me it sounds perfect. And for me, this is what I would consider to be like one of the best slam records to come out in a long, long time. For a score, I'm feeling a very strong 8.5 on this album. It's definitely one that's worth checking out and buying and supporting Devourment, because these guys definitely deserve your support. There's a CD version, a vinyl version, pick them up. Great stuff. Solid 8.5 out of 10. Check it out. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and as always, keep it metal.